Welcome to the $100 Million Mindset, the source for business owners who aspire to scale, grow, and reach their full potential. Whether you're aiming for 5 million, 10 million, or 100 million. Your hosts are Alan O'Neill, the Irish plumber, who scaled Abacus Plumbing and Cooling to over 100 million, and table lounger Todd Liles. A coach to high-performing business leaders and the owner of Service Excellence are going to help you think bigger, act smarter, and take your business to the next level.
We are joined here on the 100 Million Mindset with my good friend, Wyatt Hepworth. And Wyatt is a third-generation electrician, entrepreneur, seasoned business leader who has dedicated his career to growing and transforming the residential industry as we know it. As a co-owner, president, and then former CEO of Any Hour Services, Wyatt has steered his family business from modest beginnings into a powerhouse in electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and related residential services based in Orem, Utah. Wyatt is recognized for his leadership, innovation, and commitment to fostering a culture of continuous learning and high performance to the tune of going from 73 million to $500 million in 3 years. Welcome, Wyatt. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here with both of you.
Yeah.
So thank you for having me on.
Our pleasure. And Alan, this is your first opportunity to meet Wyatt. He is a good buddy of mine going back almost 20 years, I suppose, at this point, which blows me away to say that. So, Alan, I'm so happy to introduce you to my good friend Wyatt.
Yeah, I'm really happy to meet Wyatt. Obviously, I've heard so much about him and his company. It is definitely legendary in the industry, and one of the few really top performers that I haven't met. And so I feel fortunate to at least spend some time over this medium with him. So great to meet you, Wyatt.
Great to meet you also. Yeah, appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to exploring a few more things with y'all and talking openly about some of the things that you've seen in the industry and some of the things that I've seen in the industry. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Sounds fantastic. Well, let's just jump right into it. I know that you got into the trades a lot like Alan did. You were dragged into it by the family, right? So, Alan, I think your dad was a plumber. Is that correct?
No, my dad was actually a laborer.
He was a
Yeah,
laborer.
Yeah, my dad was a laborer. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And Wyatt goes back not just one but two generations. So let's just jump right into it with our early inspirations in the trades. I think that'd be a great place to start, Alan.
Wyatt, it was interesting when I read your comment about your dad. And my dad was a laborer. He worked for the same company for 49 years back in Ireland. He worked for the Irish Glass Bottle Company. And when I was growing up, I didn't know anybody that went to college. Like nobody in my circle. I was from the inner city. No one from my circle ever went to college. And so my dad's aspirations for me, I'll always remember he said to me, you need to get a trade and you'll never be idle. And so plumbing was the first thing that came up. And then I read your dad's comment that he said, stay away from the trades. And so I think it's just so interesting that, we both had such different advice and ended up more or less in the same place. So very, very interesting.
yeah, and I think my dad was conflicted because he's the one that got me into the trades. So I was going to college to be an accountant, and I was working at a grocery store. I was a manager at a grocery store, and I turned around. I was working on one of the aisles, helping some of the guys, and turned around, and he was there, and he offered me a job for double what I was getting paid at the grocery store. So anyway, so I was like, well, I've got to take that for at least the summer,
Yeah.
And so he was conflicted. He's the one that got me into it. However, I was going to school to be an accountant, and I love numbers. So yeah.
So Wyatt, Any Hour wasn't always the size that it is. I can recall even in our early relationship that you guys were a substantially different business. And as a kid, you guys had moments like most small businesses do that when it's good, it's absolute feast. But then there were famine moments as well. And you experienced all that stuff firsthand as a kid. So I want to know, how did those early experiences shape your approach to business today?
Yeah, very very good question. So yeah, so as I went through and saw my dad, like I came up to work with him for that summer at the age of 21, and he he would do a job and a customer wouldn't want to pay him. It was a time and material kind of job, and so they wouldn't want to pay him. Or he even would have a bid on the job and get it done a little more quickly because he had me. I'm pretty quick. I'm a pretty darn good electrician, so we'd get the job done pretty quickly, and the customer would see that he was going to make some money, and I would see him kind of walk away from the money, and I'm like, no way. I just climbed in that guy's attic. I just sweated in their house, maybe even cut myself and bled a little bit in some of the houses, and or sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's very hot in these attics. Back when I first started working with him, the biggest job he could do is $7,000 because the state had put a limit on him based on his credit, and that's really how I became a partner. Is it took my credit to even get us to be able to do a $7,500 job. So we started off doing service work, but really just seeing him struggle his whole life financially, my grandfather struggling his whole life, just and loving numbers and really loving the trade. You guys, I think the trades are awesome. But I think my dad would have pushed me to the direction of staying in the trades if he would have actually thought you could make a good living in it. Because, even to this day, he's, I think, 77, and he still throws the pouch on. I was just talking with him the other day, and he'll throw a pouch on and just go help a neighbor. So I think he's passionate about the trades. He's passionate about the work we do. It's just he was a little soured that, back in the day, he wasn't able to make a good living off being in the trades, like it
Mm.
is for a lot of people nowadays.
So your dad had that experience, and then something happened along the way where you turned the corner. Something occurred. We're like, okay, we can actually make money in it. Was it because of your background in accounting? Was it exposure to something else? What changed that?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, so actually, that's what brings you and I to meeting each other. So we, I always thought you could work harder than the next guy, and you'd be able to make it work. Work hard, be good with your numbers, go out and be honest in all your dealings, and you'd be able to make a living. Stand up for yourself. Have confidence with the customer. Have confidence with your employees. I'd grown an electrical new construction company in the state of Utah. Again, we had only been able to do small jobs, but we did increase that over time, over years. But then in 2000, end of 2005 is when I actually met you, Todd. And, Mike Wilson, who is my brother-in-law, he's also been with our business for many, many years. I know you know him. He was always looking for the smarter way to make money, the smarter way to run a business. And he talked me into flying out to, I believe it was, I think it was Tennessee or one place like that. And I met Patrick. I met Patrick and met an organization, and then met you in that organization, and you really opened our eyes. I went to a training of yours. You really were passionate about the trades. You lived what you were teaching. I could tell you actually knew what you were talking about, and so I started going to these trainings. And I'm not sure if we want to talk about organizations, but there are different organizations.
No,
And at
it's
the time,
totally
you were
fine.
working for one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you were
totally fine. It's
working
part of history.
for for one of those organizations, Clockworks, and so and really found what you were saying to be true, and realized I can work harder and I can work smarter, and I was always afraid of putting education into our employees' minds because I was always worried about people, what they would do, like were they going to stay in our business, or they going to
Mm.
go start their own business, all those things. But you guys shared a quote with us. You did, and you said, you said it was I think a Ben Franklin quote, and you said, empty your wallet into your mind, and your mind will fill your wallet. So that's really been something I've lived by ever since then. Todd, is seeing you up in front of the class. You were confident. You knew what you're talking about. Our guys that I was taking to the class, I was in every one of your classes that I would take my employees to. I wasn't, standing out in the hallway. I literally was in the classroom doing the role plays with you guys, feeling uncomfortable, getting up in front of people. And you are a role player, Todd. You don't let anyone get, you don't care who's who in that classroom. They're going to role play, and I respect that. But you really did. You were able to answer all the questions my technicians or my employees had, and really painted a vision for the business. And what was really cool, you guys, is after that vision, I would go to dinner with them, and we would really talk about what they thought. And what was really awesome is they would even have questions about certain things that you might say in the training, Todd, and we would discuss it. And then they would feel comfortable asking those questions in your class the next day because they knew I wasn't there to judge them and I was there to participate with them. I think that really changed everything.
Wow, and if anytime I'm feeling down, I'm just going to give my buddy Wyatt a call and be
There
like,
you
"Hey,
go.
just I
There
need to
you
be
go.
pumped
Yeah.
up, Wyatt."
Well, I have been a victim of those role playing trainings as well, so I know what he's talking about. Absolutely, yeah. Um, Wyatt, it's so much harder today to start a business than when your dad did back in the day. What advice would you give to somebody starting in the trades today, given all the challenges that you've seen?
Yeah, very, very good. If someone was starting, it's different. I think it's different advice depending on where they are. So, are you saying if somebody's just starting off to run their own business, or are you saying someone's had a business and they're looking to have a better organization and provide better opportunities to their employees?
Well,
Or would you like me to answer both?
someone starting a brand new business, or somebody in business looking to grow and take it to the next level. Wyatt, either
Yeah.
way is fine.
If the advice I would give for someone just starting a business would be different. It would be this advice. I would say understand your numbers, join an organization, period. Todd has an organization. I'd join his organization. Join it, learn from what he has. You need the foundation. You guys, when we joined ESI, which Todd was a part of back then, we started training 5 days a week. We had our guys in at 7 a.m. We built that foundation. We took them all to trainings. We put the money into our people. So someone just starting off, they probably don't have any employees, or they just have one or two people that they're just starting with. I would say get trained up, paint the vision, and I would hire people that you can see in your business when it's 10 employees and when
Mm.
it's 20 employees and when it's 50 employees. Believe that you're going to have a business that big one day, because if you just cap it at 5 employees, you're going to make money, but you're going to just be a place where you're training up got good guys for your competitors because they're only going to stay so long because you can only pay them so much. If you're going to cap it at 10, 15, 20, 30 employees, once you decide you're going to cap it, those employees can only go so far. There's only so many management positions. There's only so many foreman positions. There's only so many of all those positions. So my advice would be hire people that you believe that you're going to be able to keep long term. When we started our heating and air conditioning site, and by the way, Todd Liles is the one that got me to do that. Todd, you did. I was asking you advice at an event. I was like, how do we grow our business? And I was all stuck on electrical. We'd grown our business from 250,000 in service revenue when we started with you guys, and just in a few years, just a couple years, we got up to 2 million, and we were 20% profitable. And I was like, how can we keep building our electrical side? How can we make this awesome? And you looked at me and you said, do you remember, Todd?
I do.
What did you say to me?
I said, "Have you considered air conditioning?"
You did.
I think I said,
That's what you
"Why
said.
aren't you doing air conditioning?" If I'm being
I think
specific.
yes, and you completely floored me. I went to Mike Wilson. I'm like, I asked for electrical help.
Yeah.
How do we scale our electrical side? And I think your biggest company in ESI back then was probably Mr. Sparky, and they
hmm
were probably, I don't know, 7 to 10 million to 13, somewhere in there. But everybody else, I think, was 2 million and under, or 3 million and under, or something, right?
Do you remember why I asked you if you'd considered air conditioning?
I don't. I think I was just stunned that that's what you asked me. So
Well, I
at the
had a
time,
couple
so yeah.
answers. One, I felt like you were really doing electrical pretty well. And I don't think I would have told you that because I've told a lot of people that come up that were plumbers and say, "What about adding air conditioning?" And I know you said you're only 2 million, but you were coming so often. I was like, "Well, White's got a pretty sharp mind. I think he's capable of doing this." There was plenty of people in those times that I didn't say start another trade. So that's number one. You were already doing something pretty well. You were scaling. Number two, Orem's not a small town, but it's not Salt Lake, right? So when I'm taking a look at it, what went through my brain is also what has the highest probable average ticket in the trades. And trust me, I love all the trades, all of them. But air conditioning has a real high probable average ticket, and the cycle for air conditioning is much shorter than it is for a whole panel replacement. So those opportunity alignments went to reach your greatest level of success. Let's go with the thing that's got the shortest, largest sell cycle.
That perfectly makes sense. And go ahead, Al.
No, I was just going to say we were the same. We were plumbing only, and when I did my first transaction into private equity, part of the deal was you got to start air conditioning. Like you've got to. And I used to say, I'll do air conditioning when I get good at plumbing. Like we were pretty good at plumbing, but I never felt like we were perfect. And it was kind of forced upon me. But the first day we went out and did $20,000 in revenue, and I'm like, this is like taking candy from a baby. Now we did 500 the next day, but but it is such a great trade to add on to a plumbing or an electrical business. And I mean, Wyatt, when I look at Aniar, and I've seen so many videos online about Aniar, and I just it's an incredible story. It really is an incredible story. And um, how did you navigate like getting into that new trade, Wyatt? Because like me, it was like aliens had landed for me. Like the boxes in the warehouse were bigger, the techs were different. I mean, I literally said that I feel like aliens have landed in the building. Like I was so used to plumbers, being a plumber my whole life.
Salt of the
How
earth.
did you navigate the challenge of expanding into that new trade?
So I think we got really lucky. So I've always loved the book Good to Great, and I always loved some of the stories about like Nucor, some of those businesses where they would bring up when all the other steel companies were bringing up like how expensive it is to for tariffs or for shipping steel, for shipping steel, or how heavy it was or how expensive it was to make. I liked how they took it and turned it into a positive. They said, okay, we're competing against China, I believe it was, and they have to ship that heavy steel all the way across the ocean. And they have tariffs that they're going to have to pay. And yes, we have to pay higher labor, but what can we achieve here? And I'm going to kind of touch into something I haven't actually brought up on any conversation on any kind of podcast before, but we're in Utah, and Utah has a lot of Mormon population out here, and Mormon population is kind of known as being a little bit on the cheaper side. They have a lot of neighbors that you kind of get a hold of your neighbor. You kind of know your neighbors 2, 3, 5 blocks away because you kind of go to the same church in a lot of areas. And I always thought, well, that's terrible because in electrical, I'm competing against the side job guy, the guy that's just going home and going to do the side work, right? And what I realized is I need to stop being a victim and thinking about all the negative things of being in Utah. Because at the time, I love Utah. I love living in Utah, the beautiful mountains. The people are amazing people here. And again, it's about, I think, 50-50 as far as LD, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints compared to people that are of other denominations or what have you. And so anyway, I started thinking, how do we really uh, do this well? And so what we did is in this organization with Todd, Todd, every day I saw him at the trainings, he was shaved, every day he had a white shirt on. And in church, a lot of people here in Utah, they go to church in a white shirt and a tie. And they have a lot of missionaries from the church that go out in a white shirt and a tie. And so anyway, we just decided we're going to shave every day. No one has it. We're just going to do it. We're going to believe what Todd was teaching us, and we're gonna wear the shirts and the white shirts, and we were gonna provide the uniforms and press them and just make it happen. And we just decided we're gonna do that, and it fit the Utah mold, you guys. And I just decided, I used to have stringent like non-competes on my employees where they couldn't do this and that, whatever. And I decided, hey, I don't need those. I'm just going to put money into their education. I'm going to go with them because, when you're going with them, you're gaining a relationship, you guys. You're gaining a relationship because you're learning together. If I just send guys, I see so many companies just sending guys to training. Todd, you see it. They just send their guys and they're like, just fix my people, right? Just fix them and make them into great techs. Todd, right? But if you see an owner or the managers going with them, I mean,
Right.
how powerful is that, you guys? So I'm getting back to to answering that question.
Yep.
Okay, so what we did is we really just we went out there and we did it all. We did the whole system and everything, and we literally we were doing it, and then we got blessed. So this is where I'm headed. We've got blessed with that terrible economy of 2008, just decimated the whole industry. It just decimated everything. I had a new construction site. I downsized that over a 3-year period, got rid of it. It almost disappeared the first year, and then the next 2 years I just cleaned up the scraps. But the blessing was I was able to pull a bunch of guys into my service side and train them up, and they needed a job because the industry was so bad. I had a bunch of friends that were working for other companies, and I was able to convince them to not own their own company or what have you and come start the business. And it really comes down to foundation. Then I would drive them out to trainings because we had a tight budget, you guys. We couldn't fly. We would stay in the same hotel room. I mean, we would sometimes have 3 guys. I'd get the hotel to get me a cot, and we'd have 2 to 3 guys in a room. Um, I never shared. Well, I never shared a bed except for one night. One night I shared one with Mike Wilson, my brother-in-law, and we were tight on money, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 2 queens in a bed, but we usually could get a cot, and and
Mm-hmm.
we would go see other businesses and go to trainings and put our money back into these guys. But it really comes down to foundation. Are you putting your money into people that are actually worth putting your money into? Ben Franklin did not say put your money into lazy people, put your money into okay people. He said put your money into your mind. Well, I'm going to put money into my mind and the people next to me that I believe will work hard with me. And was I right on every one of those guys? No, not 100%. But was I right on a lot of them? Absolutely. So how do we start the other trades? I started by bringing people in, put money into them immediately. I had I think when Todd and I were at a training of Next Stars, I had some guys in there that I shouldn't have started my heating and air plumbing up with, and I lost those guys within a few months. And Jeremy Hansen, my brother-in-law, who is our COO of the business. My other brother-in-law is Mike Wilson. He's the CMO of the business. But anyway, Jeremy's like, Wyatt, what are we going to do? And and I said, we're going to hire the right people. So I went and found the right people, the right foundation. I brought in the right guys, Dustin Van Orman, Kevin Van Orman. I brought it, and then they started bringing in more of the right people. And that plumbing or that heating and air side just scaled. It went fast. Now we didn't quite get the right people right off. I hired 2 master plumbers that same year. I believe it was 2012 or something like that, 2010 or 12, one of those two. I hired some plumbers, and we lost those guys. And we didn't start growing plumbing till I got the right plumbers in there that were a foundation. And now we've got some of the most fabulous plumbers. Can I just say one more thing? A lot of companies say they've got to train their technicians from scratch. I think you should do that, but I also think you've got to hire top talent. No one, you guys, I've been doing electrical for a lot of years. I'm a lot of years. Uh, you're not going to teach someone how to do electrical within 3 years with what I know how to do with 30, 40 years, 35 years or whatever it is doing electrical. So you're just not going to teach anyone to do that. You're not going to teach someone how to do heating and air conditioning in 1 or 2 years the way you would a veteran. So how do you get veterans to learn the service system and learn how to actually give options and pricing and all those things? And that's where those hard conversations happen at night. That's where I hire the guy quickly and I get him out to a training quickly, and we start working on their mindset immediately and helping them understand the cost of doing business immediately before. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love your philosophy on training. I really do.
110%. One of the things that I just want to double click on that I really like, 2 things I want to double click on. One is this idea of getting everybody in the room, sharing rooms. To me, that is about making the most of the resources that you have. But what that really is about, and internally, one of our core philosophies is overwhelming diligence. And we have this picture of a miner swinging a pick, a pick into the mountain. And he doesn't know it yet, but there's a lot of gold within feet of him swinging that pick. And I say to my guys, I'm like, are we going to keep swinging the pick or are we going to put the pick down right before we strike gold? And so overwhelming diligence is part of our core value because it's about doing the hard things. And everybody wants to idolize people that do the hard things. Every business owner idolizes people that do the hard things, whether it's someone that you watch in a movie, a superhero, or you watch a movie about a Navy SEAL going to war doing really, really hard things. But yet, at the same token, doing hard things in business looks a little different, right? It looks like sharing a bed with your brother-in-law when you're short on money. It looks like we're not going to get on a plane and go fly to this training. We're going to all hop together and we're going to get in a truck and we're going to ride out there. Well, that's doing something hard. Is it going to war? Absolutely not. So why do we complain about that more than the guy going to war? And I just want to commend your mindset on that. The other thing that you talked about was having your managers involved, and I can tell you one of the mistakes that we made early at Service Excellence, which we've corrected that mistake, is we took the philosophy on of absolutely we will fix your people because we were so passionate of doing it. Now we have our guardian of culture way up, and we ask some very clear questions, Wyatt, which is who is the manager that is responsible for implementing the training sessions? We're only going to be with you 1 day a week. Who's going to take that session from when we give it to you in that 1 day and then is going to reinforce it 3 or 4 days this week in role play? Who's going to be following up with it? Who's going to be bought into it? And if the answer is no one, you don't get to become a client anymore because it will not work and you will blame us. Because we got to have someone there who is driving it. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, or it's not even very affordable to have us do it 5 days a week. But you need to be training multiple days a week. If you're just getting started once, is not enough. So I just want to reinforce what you said, and thank you for all of that. And I will. This is just going to end up. I'm going to move this from my podcast into my iTunes, and like when I go work out, I'm going to be like, play the Wyatt hits right now, okay? Because this is going to get me pumped up.
Love it, Todd.
Alrighty. Let me ask this question. Looking back, how critical was it to any hour's growth when you made that decision to add air conditioning?
It was everything. I mean, we have completely different business. One of our main competitors at the time was also a member of your group, Captain Electric.
Mm-hmm.
And they had grown to a Salt Lake branch, a Ogden branch, I think a Logan branch, a Boise branch, a St. George branch. I don't know if they made it to Las Vegas, but it's really up the I-15 corridor, probably 2 to 4 hour breaks between each town. And after you had opened my eyes to the heating and air side, I got back home and I started seeing that plumbers who were doing heating and air guys now doing plumbing were now advertising to do electrical. And I was like, oh my goodness, Todd was right. So anyway, so how critical was it? The electrical market in the state of Utah has been, well, across the whole nation has been taken over by plumbers and heating and air guys. Um, Electricians usually don't start up a service business in the United States right now. You were talking about, Alan, you were asking how hard is it to start a business. You mentioned how hard it is to start a business now compared to back back in the day. Yeah, there's so much competition out there. Whereas when I started doing electrical service, there was only Captain Electric doing it in the state of Utah. And they'd branched out so much that when I started advertising just in Salt Lake and Utah County, we were able to take over the market. They actually got a hold of me and said, you're like a 600-pound gorilla. We can't keep up with you because they'd spread themselves so far out. So what I love that we did is we became a $2 million service electrical company before we added the other trades. They had become a $2 million electrical service company, but they had spread themselves out from Boise all the way to Las Vegas. Do you see where I'm going here?
Yeah.
Which diluted them. But we had such a strong presence. We'd moved into Salt Lake. We weren't even in Ogden, you guys. And so when we started the heating and air, electrical, I'm just saying what I really think here. This is what I think. So if you guys disagree, let's jump in, and you know, we all have opinions, but I think electrical is by far the hardest trade to make grow and scale. I really do. To grow and scale, especially back then, we'd grown to 2 million and it was tough. When we started plumbing and heating and air and got the right guys in place, it was piece of cake, you guys. We passed everybody. We went from, you know, basically during that bad economy, and we were like getting rid of the new construction side, it dropped down to about 1.5 million. But once we started getting that in place, we went from 2.5 to 4.1 to 6.3 to 10.6 to 15 to 25 million to 36 million. We had a year there at 36 million where we had to restructure because we kind of spread everybody in management too far out. And then we only grew to 37. Then we went to 45, then 57, then 73, and then up to 90 something. And then we were over 100 the year after that in one location, you guys, which is really cool
It's cool.
to
Yeah.
see that happen. And that's with a lot of the same managers. That's with some technicians becoming managers. Some of those guys I found earlier on during that bad economy, that's where they came in. We brought in a guy named Lincoln Walpole to be our, you know, over our finance side of the business. He was able to retire my wife from the business. But really just finding these really awesome people. And something interesting about Lincoln Walpole, you guys, I knew him. His sister came in. She was a graduate from BYU. He was he was like valedictorian or something like that, pretty high up as far as his education, and from BYU also. But his sister came in to interview, and he talked her out of coming to work for us. So I brought him over and had him do a tour of our place, and he was so blown away. He actually came and worked for me. So
Wow.
anyway,
Wow.
it's been fun. But him and Bridget, who is from Florida with an accounting degree, they were able to retire my wife from the business. She retired about 4 or 5 years ago, which has been really great to have her be at home finally. Anyway, it's just been really fun, you guys, seeing the growth every year at 20% ish profitability or higher. It's just been really great, you guys. Seeing that we can do that and scale that with the people. So how pivotal is heating and air? I think it's everything, because heating and air is over half our business, and plumbing is then the next biggest, and electrical's by far the smallest, and it's very profitable. However, is definitely our smallest. Like you guys brought up at the very beginning, an electrical panel doesn't need to be replaced every 10 years. Like you
Well,
know
just a
yeah.
curiosity question from me. We have plumbing, air conditioning, and electrical. Interestingly enough, electrical has got our highest gross margin, where we can be in the 60+% gross margin electrical. But your growth is so impressive. And I was waiting for you to say, and we have 5 locations or 7 locations or something like that. But you're in one location. Did you significantly expand the service area that you were serving from that location, or is the service area? I would imagine you had to expand it, right?
Yeah, and that's really, I don't know if you're familiar with Salt Lake area. So there's Salt Lake County, which is the center. We have a mountain range on one side, and on the other side, we have a couple of lakes. So it's really a long, skinny area. And so there's this long, skinny area. We are in Utah County, which is just south of Salt Lake. That's where we have our main location.
Right.
And so we started servicing Salt Lake. Almost all of our technicians in Utah County, just a few in Salt Lake, and then we finally, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago, started branching into Ogden area, which is north of Salt Lake area, but we didn't have a location. And just a couple of years ago, we put a location up there. We have Ricky Barnes is the one running that. We have Troy Miller, who's running the Utah County, the Orem location. By the way, Troy has been with me 13, 14 years. He came over from Captain. He was our service manager. He came over to be our to be a technician, because he was sick of being a manager, and he liked the pay. And so anyway, but we got him back in management over a few years, and he's actually our general manager for the Orem 100 plus location. And then but then a few years ago, we actually got a solid location up in Ogden. So we're kind of flanking Salt Lake from both sides. because it seems like a lot of technicians don't really live in Salt Lake as much. I mean, there are technicians up there, but it seems like most technicians are north or south. So we're flanking Salt Lake, and that I talked to Ricky the other day, and he says he's thinking he can do 30 to 35 million up there this year,
Wow.
which I think he'll do it. He actually started I don't know 7 years ago as a plumber here, and worked his way up into plumbing manager, and then was mentored by Troy Miller, and then moved into this position up there. So yes, we have the two locations now, flanking those, and then 3 years ago we actually brought in a private equity partner, and they have been helping us scale the business nationwide, and so now we're actually in 10 states, and we're up to 30 locations, 23 brands right now, at $500 million. But our biggest location is any hour electric plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. That is our biggest side, and I am passionate about electrical, you guys. I really am, but I'm really passionate about the trades and working with our hands. I'm passionate about our product, plumbing products, heating and air products, but I am passionate about electrical and all the things you can do in a home.
Why, it's really impressive how you were describing taking plumbers, electricians, and you're building these people up from being a tradesperson into being a manager into running branches. That's empowering employees in a major way. So, how did you develop this philosophy that I think a lot of people wouldn't have thought of, which is, yes, I can grow a great plumber, a great electrician into a great manager that can run a location. How did this philosophy develop in house?
It actually developed back in 2005, 6, 7 when we were first with your organization. When Jim Abrams got up and talked about when he got up and you guys, can you hold one second?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to make a call here.
Take his hammer away, Wyatt.
Sorry, you guys.
No, you're
No
totally fine.
problem.
I'll go back and I'll ask this question again in a moment. I just want to talk to you about your personal development because I've known you for a long time. That moment right there where you were frustrated on the call and you didn't lose your cool with him, but I could hear it in your voice. And I don't know if you recognize this. I just want to point this out because I want to point out how much you've grown. All of this time as you've been speaking, it's been so awesome and professional and fluid. And I'm going, wow, Wyatt has grown as a human. What you just did on the phone, where you were a little frustrated, a little bit of stammer, a little bit of, that's the Wyatt I first knew. That was the Wyatt in class. That was the one that, and I'll be honest with you. And I told Alan, I'm like, out of all the people that we're going to talk to, Wyatt's my biggest surprise because I knew him when he was still struggling just with presenting himself in that manner. And by the way, it's just we all go back into moments of when we're frustrated and some of those old habits come out. But you've grown so much in confidence and as a presenter, and I don't see it as a bad thing what I just saw. That's my old friend. So for a moment, I saw my old friend like there he is, and here he is now. So I just want to point out it's awesome to see how you've grown.
Well, thanks. One thing to know about, yes, I'm definitely still the same person. Also, one thing I think thing to say about that is it's actually helped me because I think people see me and they say, you know what, Wyatt is doing this. So if Wyatt can do it, I can do it. And I think just because I am a vulnerable person that will kind of, I do stutter a little bit when I'm kind of thinking through my words. I think people say, wow, Wyatt's doing this. He went out, and my biggest sales year was 2.7 million when I was in the field, you guys. And I know that's not a big number nowadays, but I think when people see like Wyatt did this, he's been successful. I think they say, you know what, he's real, and I can be successful because he's been able to be successful. And I think that actually has empowered a lot of people. And I used to get so shy about it, Todd, because you're right. When you saw me when I would get up in front of the people to role play, it was like what I just did was nothing compared to how badly I would do when I was up there role playing with you guys, and it was embarrassing. I seriously would have that red face. I don't know if you remember the red face. I probably did worse than every single one of my employees at the time. I felt fake role playing because I felt like it was a fake thing. It's not really me. It's me trying to be somebody else. But you want to know something? As I kept role playing and I kept doing it, it became me. And just because I could sell on jobs, when it finally became me, I started being able to be the genuine person that I am and being the technician and the person that's very passionate about what I could do in the trades, to being the person that was role played and could be passionate and using real words that were really my words, that were more polished, but never as polished as someone like yours, Todd, or someone like Mike Wilson, as you remember, or Brett Knapp, some of those people that you remember that are still with me to this day, that put me to. I mean, they really are just amazing at public speaking and at role playing and at putting the scripts together. I mean, it's quite amazing. Mike Wilson's put all of our scripts together for all of our call center. Brett Knapp has put all of our internal trainings that we do for all of our partners, for the whole entire group. He's running that whole side of the training side right now. And you remember him as just a brand new apprentice or whatever electrician worked for me. And same with Mike Wilson. I don't know if you even knew he was an apprentice when you first apprentice electrician when you first met
cool.
him many years ago. So yeah.
Actually,
Yeah. I think, Wyatt, like, I only know you 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but one of the things that comes across to me about you is that vulnerability. Like, I always found it very impactful when I'd stand up in front of my guys and say, look, we have a problem and I don't know how to fix it. I need your help. And I think that air of vulnerability, and listen, I'm a plumber. Like, I still have a plumbing license in my pocket. I love the trade. That's what I grew up on. I've been doing it for 47 years now. Um, I mean, I don't know if I could fix my own plumbing anymore, but like, that's my trade. And so I really relate to these guys, the plumbers, the electricians, the air conditioning techs, water treatment, whatever it might be. But I think Wyatt, vulnerability and being honest about what you're good and not good at is so powerful today, and it's so, most leaders are afraid to show that side of themselves. I think um, it's very, very respected by everybody from the newest apprentice all the way to your most seasoned employee, and I think it's obviously has served you really well over time. So it's
I agree.
it's amazing. Sorry, go.
I agree with you, Alan. I agree with you, Alan. I was just going to say on that same topic, and you're a plumber, you're passionate about your trades. One thing that I think happens to us, and you're a business owner, both of you are business owners, but so Alan, sounds like you've been very successful in your business. So um, one thing I've noticed is sometimes we get underestimated. I get underestimated, and people see that vulnerability side, but they soon find out. I've had so many employees come in, or they get moved up into management, and they underestimate who I am, and it's happened my whole life. But they very soon find out that I'm a very hard worker. I demand and expect a lot. Sam Walton says high expectations are everything. I didn't just put money into training for mediocre people. I find the best. I put my money into those people. I don't just promote any technician or anybody. I find people. You notice I brought up Troy, who's our GM. He was the service manager and was the top person at my biggest competitor back when I met you, Todd. So literally, I put my money into those people. I'm not a schmuck. I've been told by other people, they meet me and they're like, "Oh, you're just a nice guy." I am a nice guy, but I expect a lot. I'm hard to please, but I'm nice. I give a lot, but I expect a lot. But I've got to put the right people in the right place and expect a lot. And a lot of people are a little surprised. They're like, "Oh wow, how is Mike Wilson, who's your brother-in-law, the CMO of a $500 million company and has the ability to scale it to $1 billion plus company? How is your brother-in-law, who's the COO, Jeremy Hansen, who's one of the very best operators I've ever seen in my life, one of the best leaders and managers I've ever seen in my life? How is it that a brother-in-law is that good that he has run the operations for a $500 million company. How is it that I'm able to find a CSO, a new CEO named Mike Irby, who I brought in, you know, 8 or 9 months ago as our chief strategic officer? He's been able to get to know the business, understand what we do in our business. He comes from a service kind of a business with Groundworks. But how does he come in? How do we find the right talent? Because we interviewed him, found the right person, brought him in, and now he's now the CEO for this whole organization that is a $500 million company. As he's coming in and bringing his talents in, and restructuring certain parts and aspects of the business while still keeping the culture for all of these, 30 locations that we have, the 23 brands, the partners we brought in. How is it that we're able to bring this guy in here who's really doing some phenomenal things in the business? How is it that we bring Lincoln Walpole in, who moves up into CFO, moves into this role? We scale the business, and then just in the last year, he moves over to Chief Business Officer, CBO, and we bring in another CFO out of Texas, a company that actually just sold to Home Depot for billions of dollars, and he comes in from that. David Schultz from Texas moves his whole family up here, and he's now our CFO, and he's able to continue helping us scale. So how are people coming into this business and scaling this business and able to do that? And this mix of people that have grown up as technicians or grown up in the industry or not even grown up in the industry see how awesome it is to be in these trades and be part of such a great group. And I'll tell you, I don't know, Todd, have you been on a tour of our place? You've got to get out here. You and Alan, you
I'd
both
love
need
to
to
come
get out
see
here.
it. Yeah.
Get on.
Let's make a
go on
trip.
tour of this
We'll make a
place.
trip, Wyatt.
I would love it. We have Dustin Van Orman, who is the person that really helped us get going on that heating and air conditioning side. But he is actually the person that does all the tours. But he is actually over our whole business development side, where he has taken tours almost on a weekly basis through the whole organization. We're on multiple blocks, you guys. I don't know if you knew this, Todd. Now we're in the same building we were 20 plus years ago when I met you. And we're still in that same building. We just bought up all the buildings around us, and we literally have some of the biggest supply houses just right in the neighborhood. These guys are driving to and from these other companies. They're driving right past our place to go pick up parts almost on a daily basis. We have big signs up saying we're hiring, and we just keep scaling this. What's really cool is we have these partner businesses that we're helping to grow. We've got some amazing companies in Arizona. Penguin, AC by J. We have an Any Hour down there that we started with from scratch down there. We have Chandler down there. We have Strongbill, but we have companies in California. We have companies in Idaho, Magic and Perfect, and some of those in Advance. I don't. Yeah, and it's just fantastic. And a lot of these companies that have joined us are guys that have actually been out to their place years ago when we were starting up like Precision out in Boulder, Colorado. You guys, I was so Todd, after you mentioned heating and air and I started noticing, okay, we really need to do this. We started driving out to Colorado and going to businesses out there. And he's one of them that showed, I would take my guys out there and he would show us their pricing book and all the cool things that they did in their business, them and Plumline and some of those businesses out there. They would show us how they were doing things and teaching us. And it's so cool that Precision, Tom Robichaud has joined with our group. It's pretty awesome, you guys, how it's a full circle. So I think the biggest thing I've learned, you guys, is the more I give and the more open we are and the more we have people welcoming in our place, because we have over 100 companies tour our place per year, and we don't care if they join the group or not. We're just handing them great information, but what we found that the more we just give, it's just amazing. And yes, I'm a nice guy, but we give and give and give, and it's awesome that I think when you're giving, a lot of things come back to you when you don't even expect it to come back. And I'm sure you guys have seen that with your businesses. Todd, you have given and given so much on your. I've watched a lot of your clips and information, and you're giving your information for free to so many people. But yet, look how successful and wealthy you are. And I don't know you as well, Alan, but it sounds like you've been very successful with your career and your business. I mean, it's been amazing.
Better than I deserve.
It's really interesting that you brought up being underestimated. Uh, we were talking this morning, myself and Todd, and I was talking about my journey into private equity and, dealing with different levels of private equity groups. We're on version 3.5 now on the Wrench Group, but, um, I said to Todd, one of the things that I always felt I've been underestimated. And I don't know if that's the accent or I'm from somewhere different or, I don't have the same level of education as a lot of people that we deal with, but Todd said, that, but there's an edge about you. Like there's an edge when you get riled up. Like you're a nice guy till you can't be a nice guy anymore. And our journeys are so parallel, Wyatt. I think it's really interesting. I did have a feeling of being lucky, but I found the harder I worked, the luckier I got, and met the right people at the right time, and all that type
Mm,
of stuff. So it's really, I had this feeling before we spoke, Wyatt, that we were going to have a lot in common. I mean, your organization is way bigger than the one I ran, but we got to 100 million in two locations in Houston and Austin. And then I was responsible for the Texas region for the Wrench Group for several years. So, I've done some stuff, but it's just very, very interesting how our stories are very parallel in lots of ways. So
yeah.
it's interesting.
Well, I want to say something to both of you because you guys are both my friends, and I can remember having a conversation. In this regard, I won't say with who because it's a little negative, but I was speaking in awe of the people that were in the trades, and it was said to me, "Why do they intimidate you, and why do you respect them so much? They're just dumb tradespeople." And I said, "No, you don't get it." Because I was a tradesperson. I didn't look at either of you guys like dumb tradespeople. I'm like, no, no, you don't get it. They're not dumb tradespeople. They're doing things that are really hard, really significant. And one day all these lessons that we are teaching them will become true. And when I got started in this, if you had a $5 million company, oh boy, wow. And now there's hundreds of millions of dollars of companies, and there's several of them. So I still feel that same way today. Yeah, I have a successful business. I'm wealthy by most accounts. You guys will always be my heroes because it's I do it for I do it for that reason because I really believe in the empowerment of the trades, and that'll never change.
So true.
Wow.
Well, just a
So,
question or two more for you because we want to respect your time here. You're transitioning, right? You CEO, and you laid out a laundry list of who's that are on your team. So my question to you is, what is the shift from all this work to having a chance to dive in a little bit more into your personal life? What's that going to look like for you over the next couple of years?
yeah, very good question. So, so 3.5 years ago is when we went from one very large location to bringing Knox Lane in as our partner, and me becoming the CEO of not just Any Hour Electric Plumbing Heating Air, but actually the CEO of the Any Hour Group, which is the group that's the umbrella for all of the businesses that we bring into our group. And I know Alan mentioned being part of the Wrench Group, and I know Bob Logan over there. Do you know
Yeah, I
Bob
know Bob
Logan?
very well. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, he is the one I actually went to his business more than any other business out there. I found it was confusing if I jumped around to a lot of different businesses with my guys, so I just picked one. And Bob Logan, Jeff Belk, they have phenomenal business. John out there, they just a phenomenal business. So learned a ton. I think they actually joked, "Hey Wyatt, when are you going to buy a condo to live out here?" I
Hmm.
was out there that much with my employees as we were building the plumbing and heating air. So that's awesome. So anyway, we saw Plumline go with Wrench Group. We saw, and that was definitely Wrench Group's fantastic. But I talked to my managers and I was like, "Hey guys, we can go with the Wrench Group. We can go any of these directions, or or we can do this on our own, but it's going to be a lot of work. We had heard from like Dave Geiger. He said things like with the Horizon Group, he said PE moves at the speed of light. And so anyway, we knew it was going to be tough. We talked with Ken Haynes. We've talked to a lot of different people, Leland Smith, some of those guys. And but my manager said, let's grow this group. Let's do it. We want to do it. So we started growing the group for the last 3.5 years. It took us about 6 months to get our first people to our first 8 companies to join with us. It was very hard. I thought people would just want to join with us, but there's a lot of choices out there, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, we started to grow the group over the last 3.5 years, but really took us that first half year to get it going. And it has been the speed of light. I've worked a lot of hours, and my managers work a lot of hours. We've been able to promote these people, and just it's been really great because I think there are the things that you know, and there are the things that you don't know, and then there are the things you don't even know that you don't know. And when you're a $500 million business, there's a lot we don't know that we don't know. And so that's why we started looking for some people outside the business to come in, and just realizing that that I was able to get us to this size of the business, and realizing that I need to be a strong enough person to be able to continue relying on the right people and knowing what I'm going to be best at. And what I'm really excited about is that as we're making this transition, uh, we're able to add those things to the business that we don't even know that we don't know. And I think that the partners has been really supportive of me making this move to executive board member, because it's allowing me to be able to do some of the things that I do real well in the business. And I let you guys know earlier. I think that's a whole nother podcast to go into what that is, and how we're going to continue to scale this business. But what's really great is we were able to bring in Mike Irby, who is just really a brilliant person that's built the billion plus companies before, and so he's able to bring in a lot of structure um, to add to what we're doing here. To actually make it so instead of just working harder, like I talked about at the very beginning that we were doing when we joined one of those, started joining these groups like ESI and Nexstar, but that we realized that now we're at a state where we're not just working harder, we're going to work smarter on top of that, because what got us here will not get us there. And I've got to be strong enough, and my managers need to be strong enough, the C's need to be strong enough that we're going to lean on each other and bring in that talent that allow us to move at the speed of light. Because as this business grows, and private equity does like to grow business, we talked about when you're scaling the business and you decide you're not going to scale it any further, you're kind of capping your employees and you're capping your people. I guess long story short is I chose, and we're choosing, to keep scaling this business so that people can continue to have opportunity to keep growing in the business. And something about that, you guys, is just because I say I like to promote from within and scale the business doesn't mean someone just keeps on moving up linear. Some of those positions people are moving in are sideways. Sometimes when you grow that pie bigger and bigger, you've got to split that pie up. And I think that's something we've been phenomenal at, is helping people see that and not losing really top talent when you're splitting their pie up. Because it's really hard for people to see that when you're growing a business, you're splitting their pie up. And you just got to help them see that pie is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So I don't know if that answers your question there, Todd.
Um, it answered like 3 of the questions I didn't ask.
Oh.
Yeah, I just want to know, just in a nutshell, how's your role position? Is it going to give you more time with your family, or is it less time? Is it more work?
No, it has given me more time with my family. It's given me time with my grandchildren. I have two grandboys, 2 and 4, and I have a granddaughter on the way who lives. One of my daughters lives in Texas, not too far from you, and she's expecting a baby. So
Awesome.
it's my kids are pretty excited that I'm going to be able to get some more time with them. I'm still working, working to keep building the business in this role. However, I'm able to spend a little time with my 4 daughters and my 3 son-in-laws and my 2 grandboys and my wonderful wife Samantha, who I've been married to over 30 years now. So she's pretty excited to see me and to see me more. So
Good.
it's pretty awesome move. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we're definitely going to have you on again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look forward to it.
And I want to say one more thing. So I still am an owner in the NAR group. I still have a good size ownership in the group, and I was able to bring in over 40 of my managers when we made the partnership with Knox Lane. I was able to bring in over 40 of my managers as having shares in the business, and Jeremy Hansen was a owner, and Matt Hansen was an owner before we brought Knox Lane in. And so they still have ownership in business. And then each of the businesses that we've been able to bring into the group, the founders of those businesses have ownership in the business. And some of their employees have ownership. So what's been really fun is years ago, I was the only owner of the business. And so the upside was all mine. And I have really loved seeing that as we grow this business together, that everyone that has the ownership in the business, they're all getting upside in this business. And that's been really fun for me to see as we share the shares that I used to have as a whole are now part of the employees that work here. And yes, Knox Lane has been fantastic. They've been very, very good at giving us the resources and the people and the backing to be able to really bring in some great businesses, because they have to believe in what we're building here for them to be able to invest in the business like they have. And they really, you bring up the scale that we've been able to build in such a short time. They've been a huge part of that and believing in what we're building here. So thank you.
All right.
Well, you're changing lots of family trees there, Wyatt. You're creating generational wealth for your people, which is fantastic. It's the best reward of all, I think.
Well, thank you very much, Wyatt. We really appreciate this, and we thank you for your knowledge and your time and your friendship.
Thank you, Wyatt.
All right, Wyatt, don't hang up.
Thank you. And
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
And Todd, keep changing lives. Todd, Alan, keep changing lives. You guys are making a difference. Also, it's great.
Thank you, Wyatt.
You can't take your wealth with you.
No, you can't. So you can't. Sure can't.
Give them back and making our industry better. So thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching the show this week. Head over to toddliles.com/mindset to get the show notes. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a new episode of the show. And if you enjoyed this episode, then share it. It really helps us get the word out. You've been watching the $100 Million Mindset with Alan O'Neill and Table Lounger Todd Liles.